Okay, good evening. Today we will touch certain points, 2 points from the story of the exchanged children from Sipurim Isis. A brief synopsis on the Maisa, on the story. The story is about a queen that gave birth, and her maidservant gave birth at the same time, and the midwife thought it would be really, really funny if she exchanged the children. And this is what she did. So then the children grew up. This one, nobody knew. That's people started. She had a friend, and she told another friend. So everybody was shishkening. Their children were exchanged, but nobody could talk about it. You can't tell the king about it because there was no DNA checking at that time. How can you tell? You can't change them back. The Kitzur, so he had this really unhealthy situation of. And the kids grew up, whatever it is. Then somebody, a Gittin Neshama, told the quote unquote prince, the false prince, listen, that's the story, If you don't want any trouble in the future, you better do away with this guy because, somebody might say, let's bring down these guys. And they'll have like a teretz, we're taking the real one. Okay. And so it happened. He's sent away, and once he's sent away, he got very, very upset. He says, "I'm a man nafshach." He says, "If I'm the real prince, it's not enough that I was exchanged. Not now. I have to lose my country. I have to lose everything else. I have to be sent away." And he says, "And if I'm not the real prince, Avada is not coming to me. Why do I, to suffer like this? What? He grew in the house of a slave, of a servant, a low-life guy. Why is this coming to me?" The story continues that in a certain point in time, he just goes ahead and he starts, really doing all this hefker stuff with himself, drinking and boozing, whatever it is that he was doing. And one day, he goes spazieren, he goes, takes a walk, and he lies down and he thinks, he says, this is very peculiar. He says, what is this, what did Hashem do to me? If I'm the prince, it's not enough that I lost my kingdom and I'm also being chased away, I'm a refugee. And if I'm just a slave, Avada is not. So first of all, he says that the reason why he went on his binge is because this is just not right. This is just wrong, If I'm a prince, blah, blah, blah. If I'm this, and he goes on his binge. Then he goes spazieren and he says, what did Hashem do to me? In other words, it's the same kind of cheshbon with a little adage. What is this Hashem did? And he goes, if I'm a prince, I'm this one. And then it dawns on him, something. It's possible that Hashem should do this. We'll take a prince and exchange him, we'll take this and that. Is it right for me that I did whatever it is that I did? It's the inner conversation that he has. He goes ahead, he has a dream. They came a dream, go ahead, get the first job that you can find, that will be offered, go ahead, take the job. And he takes the job, and when he takes the job, he happens to be a very vicious cattle merchant. There's going to be, that is his boss. And he really scares him. Now, that the prince, the Rebbe says, he's a very scared guy. You can see in a few points of the stories he's scared. He has demyonisdik. And two of the animals that he's shepherding run away into the forest. and his boss is screaming and yelling and threatening him, so he runs after them. They run, he runs after them, and they run, Kitzu, he chases them to the point in the forest that he doesn't see his friends anymore, doesn't want to get out again. Then he stops, and he makes another, reflection. What's up with all this? Now, in his mind, he's scared of going back because the guy's going to kill me. And if I continue in the forest, the animals are going to eat me. So, damned if I do, damned if I don't. It's like So he decides to go after the animals. And he goes after the animals, and then he goes up in the tree when the night falls, and then he meets that man on the horse, and so forth and so on, and he meets the tzaddik all the way until he comes to his actual redemption. Now, when he comes to the actual redemption, you find all of a sudden a very different person. All along the story from beginning to end, he's a really confused guy. He is filled with demyonis. He has his own, nuit blanche out of these fears, and at the end, he's the only one who can turn the name of the kingdom from the wise kingdom with the stupid authority to turn it back to the stupid land with the wise authority. And he's solving these incredible riddles. What happened to the guy who was drinking and prancing? This really guy that was scared of his own shadow. What's going on there? The story itself is really split down the middle, up to the point of where he's making this cheshbon of what is it Hashem did, if I'm this, I'm that, if I'm this, I'm that, it's not whatever. Up to that point, you have a certain kind of political drama, court intrigue. Somebody ran a really cruel joke, the whole thing, and it's really imglick, it's like a really unfortunate situation. Somebody got, ground up by this really cruel. They chased him. They run away. He's persecuted, not persecuted. The intrigue of. There is a certain process that starts with, this questioning that he's questioning, that he says, like, this argument that he puts up. If I'm the prince, then I don't deserve it. And if I'm a slave, I obviously don't deserve it. So what goes on? So that's a teretz to go drinking and whatever. And then he adds on that ingredient of what is this that Hashem did? If I'm the prince, blah, 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 and if I'm not the prince, blah, blah, blah. And that already puts him subtly on a very different, gives things a whole different slant. Then he starts saying, well, something, maybe it is possible that Hashem does something like this.
Possible that?
That Hashem will do something like this, will do a switch like that. And on the face of it, when you read it, you go like, why? The question was good to begin with. Like, if Hashem did this to me, it makes perfect sense, quote unquote, or at least it's very understandable from an emotional point of view. Because, hey, that's all messed up. That's really, really wrong. Yeah. Let me go and do whatever. What brings about this? Okay, so it's possible they did it, but what about me? What do you mean, what about you? He did it to you, didn't he? And then, the real cardinal decision is when he decides to chase the animals instead of going back to his boss. And Rabbeinu says, Mefurish, that this thing that he thought that his boss is going to kill him was a dimion. It was paranoid. It's a shtus. Yet, when you read the story, this is the pivotal question, and the answer to this question is pivotal. That's the thing that, makes, decides his fate. If it would have gone back, who knows what would have been, maybe he would beat him up, or not beat him up, he would leave, together with it. Who knows what would have happened with him. Instead, he becomes a king. He regains his royal stature. It's a decision to chase the animals instead of going back to his boss that is based on fiction, on a phobia, on a silly fear. What makes this decision to go ahead with the animals? I could have said, the guy's a person. Maybe the shepherds. I'll come. I'll beg. I'll run away. I'll whatever. Why go after the animals? What makes this decision that he did so right? That it brought him to his destiny. How can a decision based on false fear can be so true? The truth is that obviously both this dialogue that he's having with himself, if I'm the prince and so, if I'm not the prince and so, and then he brings in Hashem into the picture, which brings a totally different maskana, and that second decision are connected to one another. Somebody once said, what is a monologue? Monologue is one person speaking to himself. What is a dialogue? It's two people speaking to themselves. The point is that when we take a look at ourselves, each one, who he is, many times the picture that we get can be pathetic. Take a look at myself. And the Teva Adam Rabbeinu says pulls him down to depression, to sadness. So it is a natural tendency to see everything is wrong with me. All the things that I can't do. All the things that I can do. All the functions that I do function, and maybe even excel in. I take for granted. Duh. But it's the bad stuff that I can't do. From bending down to tie my shoe, to be able to run my finances, to be able to learn, to anything, whatever it is. I take a look at myself, and one of the most difficult things to do is to accept that This is what Hashem did. You know, there are two types of spheros in Kabbalah. There's the spheres, the igulim, circles, and there's spheres, the yosha. The spheres, the igulim, represents the nature of things. The reason why it is a circle, because a circle A has no beginning and no end. And secondly, any point of the circle is distant from the middle, equal distance. The radius is the same wherever the circle is. What it means to say that every single creation in the world is equally perfect, which means that the horse has absolutely, perfectly everything it needs to be a horse. With the exact perfection that an ant has everything it needs to be an ant. And a person has absolutely everything that he needs to have to be a person. The spheres, the yosha, represents the choice, represents morality, represents a direction. This is yosha, this is a kav. A kav, a line, has a beginning, has an end, has direction. As a circle has no direction. In other words, to understand that by me, the spheres, the igulim, and the spheres, the kav, are actually one. Which means this metzias of mine, which makes about as much sense as a picture by Picasso, you know, the nose is on the ear kind of thing, is perfect to what it is that I need to do in my life. And the fact that I keep on looking at somebody else and saying somebody else is smarter, somebody else is more ambitious, somebody else is more industrious, somebody else is more consistent, somebody else is more this, and somebody else is more that, is fictitious. Has absolutely nothing to do with me. That's the thing, that before you put Hashem into the picture, you come up with the question and says, what is this? If I'm a Yid, if I'm a prince, that's the way I should be. I should be able to learn, I should be able to daven a minyan, I should be able to daven vasikin, I should be able to wake up chatzos, I should be able to make his beidus, I should be making and I should. If I'm a prince, right? And if I'm not, los mechub at the ganze mishigas, los mechub, leave me alone. Let me live my life. But no, you know, I'm supposed to be a prince, and I'm hopping on one leg, you know, with two hands tied behind my back, with my nose totally out of joint. So what gives? So as long as I live under this, it is absolutely impossible. Of course, afterwards I go drinking or cavorting or whatever it is that I do. How could I not? I'm depressed. I need some kind of antidepressant. All these things are attempts to assuage the pain. You know, to get rid of this impossible pain that I live with. When I'm looking at myself and I see, you know, I'm a very sorry excuse for a human being.
So why is there something wrong with saying that Yannick is more ambitious than me, and I should be more ambitious like him? Why is that bad? If he's ambitious in a Torah-dic way, why is that bad?
You're right. You're right. It says, Kinas chochem tar b'chochma. But as you grow older, you know, when you'll be my age, you'll realize that there are certain things that you will never be able to do. including being ambitious as somebody else. There are certain things that I don't need to be ambitious as somebody else. I need to be more ambitious than I am now. That's it.
Okay.
But before I'm putting the Mazus Asali Elokim, what is this that Hashem has done to me, into the equation? In other words, before I realize that the way I am is a precision prescribed state. It's not coincidental. I may think that I'm pathetic. You know something? Other people may think that I'm pathetic. I may go around thinking that, they really think that I'm Mr. Wonderful, but if they really knew who I really am, boy would they have a laugh. And you know something? Maybe it's true. Maybe if they knew what I really am, they would have a laugh. Maybe they'd kick me down the stairs. It's very possible. But that doesn't negate the fact that the minute that you say, Mazus Hasali Elokim, what is this that Hashem has done to me? That He took, if I'm a prince, then what's the story with that? And if I'm a slave, so why am I beating myself down? Then suddenly, he says, the minute I'm able to accept, and it's not a yes or no, it's not a black and white, it's a gradual situation. The minute I'm willing to accept at least the idea, and then as I go along more and more and more, there are certain things in my life I cannot change, and not only this I cannot change, that this is a precise prescription from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for me to fill my role in the world. Then the cheshbon is no longer, why am I the way I am? That's no longer the question. The real question becomes, being that I am the way I am, and I am the way that I absolutely must be, until when am I going to waste my time lamenting my bitter fate, feeling sorry for myself, for being who I am? I have a life to live, to which I'm perfectly suited. So you can do it, and then you fall back to feeling sorry for yourself. That's the avodah. That's exactly the job. That is the job is given. You fall back, and you go like, I can't believe this. I did this again. Again, I did this. And then you get up again, and you start again. And that's the first entry into Avodas Hashem.
Is that accepting who you are?
Yes.
Like he's asking, why am I the prince, or am I the maid, the sister of the son? He's asking, so he accepts. Why did Hashem do it? He accepts what happened.
He accepts the fact that whatever happened
he says Hashem
is exactly, the minute you bring Hashem into the picture, that opens up the road to the realization that I am exactly who I need to be. I'm exactly the way I'm supposed to be in order for me to do what I need to do in this life. You stop chasing you stop chasing ghosts of, I wish I would have been this, and I should have done that, and I shouldn't do this, and I should that, and I should this, and I should that, whatever. Those are no longer the questions.
So what's the idea? He's living it up. He's boozing it up because
he's boozing it up because he's in pain.
But if he accepts that,
if he accepts when the minute that I start, it's not he, it's me. The minute that I accept that I am exactly who I need to be to fulfill my role in this life, then it's no longer a question. I mean, a basketball player plays basketball. He doesn't sit there and how come I can't kick the ball? I can't believe I can't kick the ball. Because the game, you play with your hands. Yeah, but look at football players. They get to kick the ball. Look at soccer players. They do nothing but kick the ball. And I'm stuck with having to play basketball with my hands. That's the game. This is your playing field. That's the framework of your life. You are perfectly suited to do what you need to do, what you need to achieve. You have two choices. You can stand there feeling sorry for yourself. Why you're not creating something else? My niece put on Facebook something is called "What kind of animal you were in previous life." She says, "I was a wolf." I was a wolf. I was a bald eagle. So I put there, I was a hamster. What kind of joke is this? It's like I was, in previous generation, I was an Egyptian princess. It's called dimyenas that people have this. You are exactly who you are, and before you embark on the trip towards acceptance of that fact, you're just fritting your life away. Baruch Hashem, here and there, catching a mitzvah, catching a this, catching a that, but l'maisa, you're still, hopping little by little with your legs tied together and your hands tied. So it's not that you're not making advancement, Baruch Hashem, because Hashem judges, according to where you are. But the point is, there's so much to be had in this world. There's so much to be gained in this world. Get yourself flying. Start to fly. The only way you can start to fly is when you realize that you are exactly the way you need to be in order to do what you need to do in this world. It is impossible to really let it rip, to really accomplish what you need to accomplish with your life without it. There's no way.
So what should he have done? Instead of boozing it up and all that, well, what should
he had to go through the process. First of all, he went through the process of boozing it up. Because when you booze it up, you come to a certain realization that you hit rock bottom, and boozing simply doesn't work. The reason why people go boozing is because it works. It dulls the pain. The problem is it stops working after a while. And eventually the pain, the boozing doesn't do it to you anymore, but you can't stop. And then eventually you get even to a further point that the pain of stopping to booze is less than the pain of going on boozing. This is when you stop boozing. You have to go through the process. He's coming from a state of lack of knowledge. There's no way that he could know that he's the real prince. Even if somebody actually came and told him to his face, "You're the real prince," he wouldn't believe it. He grew in a house of a slave. What do you want? In other words, going through that abyss of boozing and whatever it is, of confusion, whatever it is, it's a must. It's a must. You're coming from Hastorah Shebetoch Hastorah into becoming a king. It's a process. You have to go through this pain. But the point is that you need to let the pain that you went through teach you. I have to stop this madness. And start asking, what is it Hashem did? And once you say that Hashem did, the first time you say, you're still feeling angry. What is this? Everybody else is like, is like swanky and smart and with it, and I'm the only dummy around. You're right. But once you put Hashem into the picture, it's a process. Eventually you get more and more to the realization that, no, I am exactly the way that I am. Baruch Hashem, specifically when we have Rabbeinu, that's with somebody as pathetic as me can be makar of other people. They can accomplish with the koyach of the tzaddik. I can accomplish. In Chinam, if I would have belonged to another society, whatever it is, I would have been, Lushvans, whatever. But by Rabbeinu's hand, the little talents that I have, the little thing, can be poil that something, a word I said, or a nekuda tova that I had, can sort of like multiply, and eventually I'll bring Mashiach. And somebody as pathetic as me can actually do this. The Rebbe says in Sefer Amidas, the tzaddik has the permission, has the reshus to use the entire creation, the mem tzameh chai medaba, the inanimate, the growing, the plant world, and the animal, and the human, to bring a person closer to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It could be and it says, and a person is like a pen in the hands of the tzaddik. Well, only if I'm Mont Blanc, then you can write something useful with me. If I'm a 50-cent bick, then you can't. Whatever they write with me is stupid. I'm in the hands of the tzaddik, Baruch Hashem. Then in a dream, within the Dimyan, they tell me, what is my next step? Get a job. Get a job. What does it mean, get a job? Take a responsibility. You're not a millionaire. You're not a rich guy. Get a job and do it right. What? It doesn't matter. But what do you mean it doesn't matter? You know, this, I have that, I need this, but that. The minute you just go out and get a job for yourself, and it doesn't matter what it is, you'll let Kodesh Baruch Hu in your life. Let Kodesh Baruch Hu determine what kind of job you'll have. Let the Kodesh Baruch Hu determine how much money you'll make. Because, surprise, you'll have exactly as much money Kodesh Baruch Hu wants you to have. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Yeah, but is a continuation of I'm pathetic compared to others. It's still chachmas. It's still me who wanted to exert control. Get a job, which means in a good place, with good people. The people, decent people, don't have to be, who knows what tzaddik, whatever. Get a job, work. Get a job also means learning. Get a job also means davening in a minyan. Get a job means accept the yoke. Accept the yoke of a job.
In other words, do your thing.
Do your thing. Exactly right. Do your thing. Yeah, but man, that's so not romantic. It's like so not cool. It's like so not exciting. It's like so not, yeah, do a job. Yeah, do a job. The most successful decision, but until when are we? What?
9:30.
9:30. Okay. The most successful decision that the Ben Melech made was when he decided to go after the animals instead of going back to the merchant. For this decision to be possible, his phobia that the merchant is going to kill him was a must. Because if he would have been in a normal state of mind, realizing that, maybe he'll scream at me, whatever it is, but, what can you do? So obviously, the right thing to do, Torah-wise, is to go back to the merchant. You're not supposed to be Moisa Nefesh for the behemoths. It's Pikuach Nefesh. It's not a... But the minute in his own mind, both options were equally, calamitous. They're going to end up in death. Comes a question. Okay, let's say that both options are equal. which one should he do? There are people who live their lives when things invariably go wrong. Something happens that made it impossible for me to do what I needed to do. They shut off the electricity in my house, or my kids stepped on my computer, or the bus didn't come, or whatever it is. And their history is fraught with inescapable hurdles that there was absolutely no way, shape, or form I can overcome. And that's the reason why I couldn't do this, and that's the reason why I didn't do that, and that's the reason because I didn't do this, and that's the reason I didn't do that. And I didn't go out to the minyan because that this happened, or this happened, or that happened, and I didn't do this is because this happened. And you know something? Your life happens to you the way you want them to happen. I don't want to live my life successfully because I'm afraid. Because all I know, all I've ever known is failure. Failure is safe. I know failure is my friend. Success is dangerous because you can fail. Like this, at least I don't have, the disappointment of failing. At least I know. So what happens if I start succeeding? I sabotage it so that I'll fail. At least I won't have the tension. I know I'm going to fail eventually. I know it's going to end up in tears. So I might as well just let go of it. So I come up with all these. I bring them about subconsciously. I even cause these hurdles to come upon my way. Kodesh Baruch Hu brings them because Ritzon Rav Yaseh. Kodesh Baruch Hu does whatever it is that you want. Always. Not what you consciously want, but what you really inside what you want. The reason why this was such an incredible decision is because in the dream they told him, go get a job. His job was to take care of the animals. So he goes after the animals. Because that's my job. If there's no bus to the minyan, you hitch to the minyan. If there's no hitch to the minyan, you walk there. There's no bus. The bus didn't come, but that won't happen, so I'm not going. Oh, I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. This monomanic focus. I got a job. I got to do what I got to do. That's the decision that made him a superstar. That's a decision that led him to reclaiming his kingdom. It's only at the very end that he knew that he's the real prince and the other one is a slave. In other words, the entire trip you're not sure. But it starts with acceptance that you are perfect. You are perfectly suited for your role, for your function, for your journey, for your adventure. And the second thing is, do your job. Do your duty. Your duty.
Would you call this ishtadlus?
Yeah, it's not only ishtadlus, but you can be confused, but be resolute.
It's all ishtadlus.
Don't worry about ishtadlus, not ishtadlus. We all know that the Kodesh Baruch Hu does everything, and we choose. Seder. But the minute you go with ishtadlus, you go like, it's like, we really look like frum to ourselves. I'm not going to have some yadi, I'm just doing ishtadlus. It's already opened up the road, opened up the way that if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. What can I do? It's ishtadlus. There's a apikosis, a sneaky apikosis that goes into the emunah as well. The Rebbe says this sentence. The Torah says, "Haroitzel asos mitzvah V'ne'enas v'lo aso. Anybody who wants to do a mitzvah and he was coerced and didn't accomplish it, malal avakosuv kilo aso. He says that the Torah says as if he did it. The Rebbe says this is only good for something to be yotzeh, where the kosuv, it's considered as if. I don't want to consider as if, I want the mitzvah. It's your ishtalas, this is do it. What's the cheshbon? It's himself. Let the Kodesh Baruch Hu worry about it. You do it. And Legab, if you want to know how does the ishtadlus work, if being resolute is the thing that gets it to you, so such ishtadlus, how does this thing work? It's very simple. Ishtadlus does not accomplish anything for you. The only, vis-a-vis the accomplishment, the goal that's being achieved, what ishtadlus really does is it disengages you from being a loser. Whether it works at the end, doesn't work at the end.
You're supposed to build a keli, right?
The keli is, the ishtadlus is, you are tied in, I'm tied in to a situation, I can't do it, and I'm tired, and I'm in pain, and woe is me.
That's the keli you're building.
You need to get out of there. That's the ishtadlus. The ishtadlus, and you start and you fall, and you start and you fall, and you start and you fall, and you realize there's no way possible that you can overcome it. This is true. Only Kodesh Baruch Hu can take you out of it. So what am I accomplishing by trying and trying? What you're accomplishing is you're disengaging yourself from being a loser. From somebody who's comfortable with not doing, with being sorry for myself, with being downtrodden, and being pathetic. This is what ishtadlus does. And it's absolutely imperative that I'm resolute. No matter what I'm going to do it. No matter what I'm going to do it, it's going to accomplish. It is going to accomplish because that means that you really want it. You are not Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to give it to you. But this is not a philosophy sure about, ishtadlus and so what I want to wish each and every one of us is exactly that. First of all, you don't have to worry about will I ever be anything in this life. Look, people are accomplishing these incredible things. Elam Hazeh, or Avodas Hashem, there's Mekemir Shechter, there's Yari Rosenfeld, there's Moshe Kramer, there's Simcha Breslev, there's Rebbe Zakenik, there's Yitzhak Bender, Rebbe Cheshin, Kal Vachoma, Misal Karduna, Nossen, it's that these are people who did something. Everything. As Rabbeinu told Reb Nosson, you are all like a feather on my kaftan. Vis-a-vis Rabbeinu, there's no difference between you and Reb Shmuel Shapira. None. On the other hand, we're both precious the same way. Reb Shmuel Shapira is precious for Rabbeinu because Reb Shmuel Shapira was Shmuel Shapira. And Reb Nosson was Reb Nosson. You're equally precious to Rabbeinu when you. When you realize, Mazois, what is this? Asali Elokim, says the prince. It's possible that Elokim will take a prince and exchange him. Will take a Yid and take away these abilities and these talents and put it in this body and this framework and this reality. This is my job. And as precious to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and precious to the Tzaddik, like Reb Nosson, Reb Levi Yitzhak Bender, like Rebbi Nachman, it's like all the greatest of them in Ummah, like the biggest time of Rabbeinu. What do you compare them to? I'm a little ant and they are this eagle in the sky. You're 100% right, but without ants, the world cannot exist. I am the ant, and I'm perfectly suited to be the ant that I am. Okay, so what is an ant supposed to do? Do your job. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop coming up with excuses and wishing for excuses not to do what you need to do. The price you pay in self-esteem for getting away without doing what you need to do is far too steep. Whenever it is that I don't do something I need to do because I have a good reason for not doing it, I feel horrible. But hey, I was able to escape responsibility. That's the name of the game. You know? You bring the drinks, you bring the call, you bring the meat, leave him alone. I'll take care of him. Just leave me alone. You know? Stop. Chase the animals. There'll be a time when the tzaddik will tell you stop chasing the animals. This is just your virus. That's further on in the story. You're perfect. Now get to work. So it should help all of us.
Shkoyach.